All right, what's going on, Macro Perspective? We have a great guest today. It's a referral from another guest that we had on previously. And this one may go out of sequence. So actually, he's a referral. So he came later, but his episode might drop earlier because he was mentioning some things in our communication. So we might try to align it a little bit quicker based on where things are. But Misha, I'm going to bastardize your
Misha
last name, but I'm going to
Sakharoff.
say
Sakharoff. It's good. It's good. It's
Sakharoff?
okay.
Okay, okay.
Sakharoff. Yeah.
I think I would have got there. I think I would have got there. But yeah, as a referral from a guest, but out of sequence, it's funny how podcast land works, Seamus, right? Like we get these cool things, but we do try to do our best if people have something that's coming out to kind of allow for cross promotion and letting the message get heard a little earlier. So Misha, thanks for one, thank you for coming on, and two, thank you for our blunder. We were thinking that based on what Max was telling us that you were somewhere like, I don't know why Central Time, like what was resonating with me. I was like 2 hours ahead. It wouldn't be a big deal, yada yada. He's like, no, like I'm UTC +2, and I was like, oh great, I don't even know what UTC +2 is. All right, 2 hours ahead of London time. All right, cool. So that's a 10-hour difference. We fucked up a little bit. So, thank you for getting adjusted really quickly. Family life stuff gets a little crazy sometimes, and so I'm greatly appreciative. As you can see, even as we were getting into this, I was trying to get them out the door so we can have a good episode. So Misha, how about go ahead and just give yourself give the elevator pitch on who you are, what you do for the audience here.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be there. And you know what? I thought about, going into details, talking about what I'm doing from the start. And then I thought, okay, the Macro Perspective podcast. Now that's a very, very good name because that's really what we really need, because very often we go into the details and we cannot see, as we say in Danish, we say we cannot see the forest for the trees. I guess in English you can say the same. So, so the name of your podcast inspired me very much to start with, and I want to start with a story also. And it also actually happened yesterday. Me and my girlfriend, we've been walking the dog here, and I live in a very, very beautiful place where the Balkan Mountains meet the Black Sea. It's a very poetic way of putting it, Yeah, so that's mountains here. We can see the sea. And then we met a man. He was walking and he stopped and he greeted and he tells us his story. And he's asked us, where are you from? And I'm saying, well, my girlfriend from Ukraine. I'm from Denmark, originally from Russia. And then I'm telling a little bit about myself, and he's terminating my story, shifting on himself. So, and then I start again, and then he does it again. And he guesses my endings based on his preconceptions. Denmark, Russia. So there's no need to ask questions. And one little problem is his endings are very, very much different than mine, And I was like that, years ago. I've been talking very much about myself, not really asking questions. And then I found out that a very, very smart thing to learn is to listen louder. And that's very much about macro perspective, because then you start learning. If you listen louder, then you're speaking. So that's where my journey of personal development started. Not actually at life hacking different aspects, what I've been planning to talk about, like physical movement, health, mental acuity, immune resilience, art of the process, and things like that. And they came afterwards along the way. And that's my protocol, SHIP protocol, Sakharoff Health Integrative Protocol. And it's actually it's not like physiological health alone, but basically it's about healthy life, healthy process, healthy relationships with yourself first and with the people around you and the whole world, because your view on where the world is going, it affects everything long term, right? I believe. And that's why my first course now, I've been running courses on health now, and now I'm about to start my first course on the new platform, on the school platform. Probably heard about that. And my first course will be about paradoxes of health. And the second course will be about connecting the dots, integrative health. So both are free courses. And then my flagship program, based on my experience of building up my own resilience, mental, physical, and immune resilience, connecting the dots, and then doing it also for all of my clients. So basically, I always work with the old trivium concept that we know from Rome, the old Rome. They had these questions, the why question, the how question, and the what question. You probably know about that. Maybe you heard about Simon Sinek. his golden circle protocol is also built upon. And for me, paradoxes are crucial because they actually open up for the why question. Why is it important to understand the paradoxes? And people tend to remember the paradoxes very much,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
No, that makes
the how question. So it's basically how to do that. What is the physiology of that? How do we connect the dots to get that flow, that synergetic effect, And
yeah.
what all of us really want, that's a quantum leap. You heard, it's like all of a sudden you get, wow, man. And then, when we go into the details and we'll find out what do we do exactly? That's the practical course, supporting your
Yeah.
everyday education and practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically a start for this. And my
Yeah.
motto is education instead of medication.
Oof.
Mm.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. And medication here again is a broader sense. It's like what you are fed with pills, with facts, with science, with food, all being
Yeah.
agendas, And here we come closer to it.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I have
that's
to ask. I have to ask, Misha, because you brought something up there really like it perked up. I think it perked up Marcus's nice curiosity. The paradox of health
Yeah.
choices, paradoxes of health. What in your work you've been doing health coaches for 15 plus years? That's more than Marcus and I probably have been doing things and just doing courses. That's amazing. Being in the online space too, and now going into school, I think that's an amazing community too, right? Because now that thing is growing, and I know you're getting help there. For the listener, what are some paradoxes that you've found about health, in just a broader sense, and what you've seen mostly with people that you work with?
well, that's just a second. Can you see me, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see you.
Can you see me? Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
So basically, the paradoxes are very big, and the paradoxes is, for example, that about meat. The meat is not healthy. That's a very very big paradox, and we basically can I see just a second? Picture in picture, automatic. Yeah, yeah. So you can see me, right?
you're good. Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the paradoxes, there's a lot of paradoxes. And, basically the problem is that we need to learn to see through some myths. And this is very, very crucial because, if we start understanding how physiology work, what is our, um, um, what is the story behind the human evolution? We start understanding some things and we start seeing some problems. Some, things doesn't really match each other. For example, how we evolved, how our brains evolved on animal food, on animal fat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no original people anywhere in the world that are vegan or vegetarian. So we can see the first paradox. That's the paradox of meat. And then we start digging, and we understand that paradox a little bit better because we understand that there's some PR campaigns that are run against the meat, and that kind of that and some have organizations have a very very big PR budget, and then you start understanding that following the money is very very crucial to understand paradoxes. And yeah, and then you start digging and you find other paradoxes like fat paradox, cholesterol paradox, carb paradoxes, paradoxes of micronutrients, paradoxes of breathing, paradox of sleep. And one of the biggest paradoxes is basically paradox of science, how the science is made and what is
Yeah.
science, basically,
I like that. Misha, I want to pause you there for a second. The paradox of meat. I know and I get this a lot as nutrition coaches. I do want to
Yeah.
just say, in the last 24 hours, I don't know if Marcos saw this, but if you follow stocks, one of the companies, what you talk about, the PR against meat, Beyond Meat Incorporated, the LLC, or like the Nasdaq, has
Yeah.
dropped 78% since its inception. Maybe their marketing budget against meat is not as high as we think.
Yeah. Well, it's good news. It's good news, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, so that's the kind of thing. And that's why I believe that we need to start there. We need to show people, help them to understand some of those paradoxes. And I mean, yeah, so that's very, very important. Very, very important.
The meat one, the micronutrient one, a lot of, I mean, like you just said, even science. I think if we were to clearly, I think like you just said, it's like everybody kind of bringing their own bias and politics into everything has just been like the turn of the century ever since like the internet became more profound. And as
Uh-huh.
a result, we're reaching this critical mass point, dead internet theory. Seamus, did you see yesterday that they announced Divine? Did you see that?
What is divine? Is this another AI?
So they're bringing back Vine, which was like 6-second shorts, right?
Yeah.
And that was like the whole thing. Misha was like, this was when virality kind of originally started with like content for people. There's a lot of creators that started on Vine that do incredibly well today. And so like we're bringing it back, but we're not allowing AI content because it's seemingly your first question now when you are looking at something is like, is this AI driven?
Exactly.
Is
Mhm.
Yeah.
what listening to or watching actually pure information?
Can I say something, Marcos?
Yeah.
I feel like I could tell what is AI, but there have been some videos that I'm like, I can't tell anymore. And I thought I was like, I had a good filter, and I'm like, this is not good. Like I started thinking, I'm like, this is not good, like at all.
Yeah, and so they're bringing this back, and there's going to be probably this schism between like again the AI driven media people and the non right like the organically made content versus the AI made content. And I'm not saying that like you can't make content using AI tools when it's like supposed to be the human experience with it, right? But it's purely 100% generated stuff, and so that's like another whole new paradox that's unfolding because then it infiltrates different landscapes such as the meat and all the propaganda around this is good or bad, and it kind of all
Yeah.
starts with that consumption, that medication, if we may call it that, right, Misha? Medication of
Yeah.
media.
Yeah. Basically, I believe very much that people will get enough of the AI generated content and then they will learn to really understand the difference. And I believe that's where we have a possibility to not to that's not the right word, to infiltrate. No. So basically, because I believe you're right, because there's so much of this AI generated content. But my principle, you see, is to inspire people. And I believe inspiration is a very human thing. So indoctrinating is not good, but inspiring somebody. And I believe if we inspire with our if we inspire with some questions, if we inspire with paradoxes, it's basically kind of will create a filter of awareness level and inquisitiveness. And that's these kind of people that are ready to work. If you're already able to ask questions and not just settle for the information that are given you by the media, if you can ask questions, you know what I mean? If you are close to the understanding that you need to take 100% responsibility for your health, for your
Yeah.
life, then you will come through. You will pass my filter, and that's a kind
And
of
then you'll hang out with you.
marketing that I like to do. I really,
Yeah.
instead of marketing, I want to create filters so
Yeah.
that allows only the right people to come through.
That makes
And
that
all
makes a
the
lot of
others that
sense.
cannot see the difference, they can use the um, AI produced content, which is not, it doesn't have to be bad. Yeah,
No.
some of content that is produced with humans and AI together when the
Yeah.
humans are in charge in a good way and very professionally made. It's not a problem with that. But
Yeah.
I mean,
It, this is making
when
me think,
people,
Misha, like
yeah,
sorry, like this is making me think a lot of like I don't know how much you're following here in the US. Like I don't think you should be. Enjoy the Balkan seas and the mountains and the Black Sea. But like one thing that we're kind of Marcos and I deal with our work and what I've been seeing because I'm quote unquote in this functional medicine space a little bit more so now is this polarizing effect where health is so political. Health is not, I don't know how to say this I don't know how to say this, but like health is not like this independent thing where you take onus of it and it's just kind of like within your own ecosystem. It's now felt very political, side based, and it's almost a, how do I say it, like an emblem on your chest or like a calling card of like, hey, because I took this stance on health, this is also where I stand politically. And it's kind of created these, I don't
Wait,
know, these
Seamus,
ideologies that
are
are
you
rough.
are you saying that if you're taking care of your health that you're right leaning?
And Hey man, I don't know. It could be taken like that. It could be taken like that, or if you're not necessarily hanging out with lean feet people, are you fat phobic? Like I don't know. It's just gotten so.
Or it's
You know what I'm
right,
saying,
or
right, Marcos?
yeah, because it's like you're choosing to assimilate yourself with a group of people that have like-mindedness.
Mm.
And maybe they are more spiritual in a sense, which then in turn probably makes you more conservative in terms of your values, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
It's not a bad thing. It's just that what you
Yeah.
value. And I think what
That's what I experienced too. And basically, it's also a play. Right wing, left wing. It's everything is made to divide us in
Mhm.
reality. So what we need to see through this. And I believe very much that when you say conservative, in a way, I like it because I really want us to understand how to come back to the roots, and that's a
Yeah,
definition of conservative. I
yeah.
mean, but in terms of our evolutionary history of human beings, to really understand that. I mean, the values of love, connection,
yeah. Oh
telling
yeah.
stories, storytelling, in a family setting, all of this, giving your experience, your knowledge, to the next generation. That's what sounds conservative to me. I mean, the other things, they are agendas, and agendas are paid by PR. It's not. I mean, it's not human,
No,
and we
no.
need to learn to basically to know apples from bananas.
It's funny. No, it's funny that you say this, Misha, because like even though this whole right and left conservative thing it can be happening. You know what's even worse? Marcus knows this, but like, dude, the fitness industry is the worst. The fitness industry dogs on each other so much. You know what I'm saying? The
But I
fitness industry and the nutrition industry dog on each other so much. There's so much warring tribes already that like it's like we don't even
but
need to
it's
get political, right, Marcos? People are like, "Oh, you do hip thrust? Oh my gosh,
yeah, but like I
it's funny."
mean, yeah, like everybody wants to be a part of like a different camp. And like, I mean, you could think of each camp of like bodybuilder, power lifter, CrossFitter, ultra endurance people, right? And then we have this new sect of like hybrid athlete, right? There's five of them, right? That they come to mind. And it's like, why does someone that likes to go to the gym have to find a camp, right? Why do you
Yeah,
need some sort of definitive definition amongst these, five, right? Like I almost look at myself as a skill tree, right? Like if I were to like, allocate all these things as the individual, right? And I'm right in the middle, and each time I start to bias one of those things, like I'm always wanting to go back to center personally. Like, and I
yeah,
think more people would benefit from that, like elements of like power lifts. All right, cool. Like I'm not a power lifter, but I appreciate people that have amazing feats of strength. And I think some of those movements are helpful. And I like the bodybuilding stuff from corrective stuff because I like working on the machines because sometimes I'm fucking lazy. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's just easier to just sit down and do the thing. And I like the idea of mixed modal stuff and the running
yeah.
and the this, that, and the other. Like, but
Hmm.
to identify in a camp within another, again, I mean, the fitness population, what is it, like 1% of people in the US, Seamus ish, maybe more.
I believe so. Maybe, probably
Right.
somewhere
So
around
it's
there.
like a total of, we'll just call it 3 to 6 million people in the US, right? That probably are actively engaged in fitness endeavors. Um, why do you need to create more of a sect, right? Why can't you all just be like, yeah, like and motivate those people? And like you were saying before, Seamus, the ideas behind like the values, and I think Jimmy Nutrition when he was on said this best, right? You're gonna hang around people that have like-minded values, and it doesn't mean that you're going to agree with them on everything, but things
Mhm.
that and it comes in different things because you're gonna seek out different people for different elements of how your mind is working, how your physical component is working, or your spiritual component is like working, right? Though if you were to just identify me, it's like that guy must be a conservative nature because he goes to the gym and he looks like he's in shape. That would be it's like no.
Such
Like
a weird judgment, right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I was like, no, I'm here because I want to give back to other people and myself. When I start my day off with like pouring into myself and knowing I feel good. Like, this is probably the best I felt, most energized on a podcast I felt because I worked out right before this. I was like, shit, we
Same
might need
here.
to do a
Same
7
here. I
o'clock
did 30 minutes of a
podcast.
bike ride, bro.
And I'm like, yeah, like when you're in a gym or when you're in certain areas working on you don't give a fuck about anybody else around you. You're like, I'm in my zone. Today we have real talk. Me and Josh this morning, we're talking about stuff and growth and personal development. And I was like, you sound like you're in this space right now. I'm gonna bring you this book. Mind you, this is a book I read like 3 years ago. It's like, yeah, maybe I actually need to reread this book. You can't have it now, bro.
That's funny.
There's some very, very interesting aspects here because, first, the word fitness is crucial here because fitness is when you fit a kind of a defined picture of how things should look, in some defined area. So that's
Yeah.
fitness to some idea. And, this is very much connected to the difference between um, reproductive health between till 35 and post-reproductive health after 35 is very, very crucial because fitness itself can um, can be before 35, but after 35, you need to connect fitness with health. And fitness is not equal health. It's not really, because when you do fitness, you measure on some aspects that become counterproductive after 35. You measure fitness always. And I have a protocol for this in my teaching. It's called 5 fitness fallacies, FFF, 5 fitness fallacies. And that's measuring on, and I'm sorry guys, it's measuring on time, it's measuring on distance, it's measuring on intensity, it's measuring on number of repetition, and it's measuring on speed. And instead, in order to connect fitness with health, we need to detach from those and we need to learn to measure the quality of movement by the depth of relaxation and that protocol is called 5 fitness fallacies, and that's what I'm teaching people that are moving professionally. So basically, it's about how progressive active relaxation in movement affects your antagonist muscles and allows you to basically move more freely. And
That makes a lot of sense.
that's very, very crucial. And you see, again, the difference of health before 35 and after 35 is very big because we start talking longevity first after 35. Why? Because there's after 35, or some people say 40, there's nothing called natural health anymore. Because evolutionarily, you've been there. I mean, you produced your children evolutionarily, and not everybody. There's fathers and mothers after 40. It's not a problem, but generally, there's some changes in hormonal pictures and hormonal patterns, both in men and women after 35, that cannot be denied. And that's the difference between the health before 35 and after 35. And we need to know that. So when you need to know what kind of people you are talking to, what is your avatar, so to say.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I agree. I think it's fitness or like sports performance or like adaptation. I was listening to one of my favorite people, Dr. Andy Gopp, and he's like, if you're trying to adapt for a sport and win a championship, you are not healthy. You know what I'm saying? He's like, for example, he uses like mixed martial artists.
But
And
that's
who he coaches.
exactly, yeah.
He's like, that guy is spending 16 weeks ripping his body apart, cutting weight, getting hit, doing submissions, shoulder joint popping out, whatever. But he's going to win that thing in 16 weeks, right? Okay, he wins. Awesome. He's probably like 27, 28, 30 years old. His biochemical process, like you were saying, is not the same when he's probably like 40 years old now and retired. It's like, it's a whole different concept. He's training for a specific adaptation, and sometimes that spits in the face of health, right? Like you are trying to win this thing at all costs. I mean, but it makes a lot of sense. But it's also true that I know Marcos and I are kind of going into that age. Marcos is, Devin, like we have to train a little bit differently, right? Marcos, like a little bit more longevity things, maybe not focusing on cracking the weights up and down like we used to when we could just snatch a weight overhead. Like we just could randomly, we need to warm up to that.
But basically redefine your visions. It's very crucial to put some words on it, on the piece of paper. Yeah. So basically redefine your visions. Why are you doing that now? Because, if you were asked that question 5 years ago, you would have answered differently. And you have to be aware about that.
Yeah.
So redefine your visions like every second year. I'm going to be 60 next year. So, and this is like very, very different. I feel myself better and better. That's crazy because I'm doing things very differently. I'm paying attention to my age. I'm not loading myself so much. I play better tennis than before. I'm moving more freely. And, I've been in I started with sports as a kettlebell athlete. I was number 2 in
Ooh.
Soviet Air Forces in the
Hmm.
65 bodyweight category. And that was like 40 years ago, you know. And I've been able to do some things that I'm not even thinking about now. I've been, you know, having 32 kilos kettlebells, and this is like, it's totally different. I'm not using it. I'm using 12 kilos kettlebells mostly, and I'm doing and totally different kinds of exercise. That's exercise to the spine, to the ability, to the excuse me, mobility, to totally different kinds of loads.
Yeah.
You know, it's cross-loading the body, like this,
Yes.
Yeah.
instead
Rotation.
of
Yeah.
instead of like this rotations, and it's really great. And what I feel is like now my focus is on every exercise. Each exercise might give me joy. It has to give me joy, because it's not giving me joy, I'm forcing it, I'm using my willpower, it's not going to be good.
That makes so much sense.
Uh,
I agree. Anytime, I know Marcus knows this, but anytime that I've forced something, probably half the time or more, I've like, oh, I'm gonna regret that. I know. I remember overhead pressing like 2 years back, and I still have a little pinch in my back of my shoulder. Sometimes I'm like, that's what happens. That's what happens when you force that overhead press, bro. Just had to get that extra rep, you know.
I think you're mentioning like identifying where you're at with your fitness journey and what fitness means to you is so important, and that a lot of people, their identity of the past is something they want to get back, and they have to get into the identity of the now. It's a very difficult transition, especially for the ex-athletes of the world. But if you can come to terms with that new iteration of what fitness can do for you, I think it's so profound. I've learned this the hard way. I've gone through so I kind of laugh. I feel like because we've had so many conversations, Misha, with people like you or older people. I'm not calling you old, by the way. I'm talking like people in their 80s. Like they got like 20 years on you, right? And I'm asking myself, I'm like, what keeps you kicking 50 years down the line? Like if I can get that far, right? Like that's insane. And for a lot of them, the biggest thing is like, oh, I'm never retiring. I'm never not going to work. Never not going to do the thing that I've enjoyed and figured out to make a living with. And then figuring out the fitness evolution, I think, is for longevity is something that people are having. I think it's why longevity is having its heyday. And we were joking about this in our team meeting yesterday, Seamus, for like walking 10,000 steps has now become a longevity exercise. Like this is all for your longevity, and like you can use this buzzword to associate like, I mean, fundamental basic necessities of human life. Right. You know what I mean? Which I guess technically one would argue, I guess that's what longevity actually means. Right. But the evolution from a decade ago, or I guess like 2 decades ago, right? I'm in sports and I want to do this thing. I want to become this top tier athlete in the group, my small pond, right? And then it got to a decade ago and it's like, I want to be the best athlete in the small pond, in the bigger pond of the city, so I can get to the next stage. And then now as fatherhood has so graciously, come about and watching my son play, I'm like, I just want him to go out there and play at the level that I wish I could have played at. Like, not that he needs to be the best one out there, but like to understand the nuances of this game that he's focusing on. Because if he does that, then he'll always have fun with the game.
and it will allow him to really enjoy it, right? The process.
Yes.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
And it's like he gets all like down and kind of defeated, and he's like, yeah, like kind of like pushes off to the side. And we're like, no, dude, look, you did excellent today. Like you're getting your touches, you're this, you're that, and playing soccer is looking stupendous. But there's a couple little things. If you can start seeing this, you will have so much more fun. Because how fun is it when you get that big kick or the ball pokes out to you and you get that banger in the top bin, the upper 90 corner of this goal? How do you feel? He's like, that's like the best feeling in the world. I was like, yeah, I want to set you up for that. This is why you're playing the game, but we're watching as parents to help you just fine tune and just make that game that much more fun. Because I know how I felt at your age. I know you want that glory a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. But also too, like the other things that you do so well, which is like innate for him, is distribution of the ball to his teammates. And he's like, no one ever gives it back to me. I was like, and it's okay. Because the game right now, everybody wants to be a little selfish, but the game as it evolves, you can't be. And I don't get it yet. And I was like, just wait, bro, just wait. Wisdom has not been bestowed upon you quite yet. But I love the teaching of like how a kid thinks versus how you think as, you know, a young adult. And I'm sure I'm wondering what's processing in my dad's head because he's 70, Misha, watching the game over at the side like this, just analyzing everything. I was like, why are you not the fucking coach, Dad? You know, like you get to have decades of coaching experience. He's like, yeah, I can see it. Seamus, he's about to start coaching the team as an assistant. I can already see it here in the near future.
Evolution of Mr. Rivera. That's so funny.
That's
Yeah.
passion, man. It's passion. And that also keeps him young and vibrant. Like the values that's his fitness, his brain's working as to like this kid could do this, right? And he's analyzing that thing. And that's like part of the process, I think, of like mental fitness, right? Like you're talking about acuity, man, right, Misha? Like to see a problem, even if it's not really that big of a deal, but to get the brain thinking about how you would go and create a solution to it, I think a lot of people start to slowly wean away from as they move into like retirement age. And to then have puzzles, real life puzzles in this sense, where it's like every game is a little different and you want to strategize your chess pieces, what are your little 8-year-old pawns, you know, like it's the coolest thing ever. And then they have the success and you get to like witness like, oh man, like coach really cares about me. I got to play. I got to do this thing. And I feel like that's one thing, even me as a kid, I realized it's like, why the hell is my dad got everybody playing? But it's like, we were still winning. It was the craziest thing. Yeah. So Misha, you mentioned about going on a walk yesterday. I was walking with my mom yesterday morning, Seamus, and the craziest thing happened. So it was a little dark, right? There's uneven sidewalk stuff. She tripped and fell. It was the first time I had seen. I'm like, and it's one of those things that happened in slow motion. I was like, didn't I just like grab her? Because it looked like she was going to catch herself, right? And then she went down and she was wearing a weight vest. So like she ended up hitting the ground. Weight vest like knocked part of her teeth out. Yeah. So she already got it fixed. So she's fine. But she's like, it's whatever. It's like, it's going to be a couple $100. I was like, are you okay? I was like scared shitless. And that was the first time like this keeps playing on in my head. I'm like, why didn't I react faster? And how come she couldn't react faster? You know, age is starting to kind of creep up on her. Not that I'm like worried. I was like, dude, if my mom hadn't been training and doing things for her fitness, you know, this could have been bad.
Yeah.
This could have been real bad.
Yeah, dude. Talk about the chipped tooth. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just glad she's all right. I was like, that could have been a broken wrist. It could have been something else, right? It's the other components. It's like now I'm starting to see things that we're talking about because I don't have that anecdotal experience. Like, you know, patients can come in and give me the wisdom of like the importance that we could talk about these things in the studies. But then when you hit it head on and you're watching somebody else that you care about actually go through that, you're like, oh shit, this matters even more. And that's where I was like, thank God you've been training all these years, right? Thank God you've been doing burpees, even though you fucking hate them because you caught yourself. You know what I mean? And we're doing this thing to help promote more of that health. But, you know, that it was a scary moment. I was like, oh, now I get why we do something as rudimentary as a closed eye balance test. That was it. How do you catch yourself when it's dark, when there's something that is, you know, you don't see it? What happens? And that could be the downfall for so many people. And that was the first time I was like, huh, the balance test really is fucking important after 7 years. I get it now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's your anecdote. That's your anecdote.
Oh, yeah. And so, you know, go in, do our patient day with my 80-year-old patient yesterday. And I was like, how do you make people care about those things? Right. I mean, like seeing it and witnessing it, feeling it, you know, that's a big thing, you know, and I wish there was more ways to bring experience to people. And maybe it is the group. Maybe people can win through wisdom of groups in school or conversation or getting together. But man, the idea behind
you cannot push this awareness to people. You cannot. You can only inspire. That's the only way. You cannot, because people are in their own paradigms, and in order to go out to switch the path and for the paradigm shift to occur, they need to start that path themselves. And very, very often, because I have, basically I have two courses. I have a intensive program for cancer clients, grade 3, stage 3 and 4, mostly stage cancers. So we work every day very, very intensively. And then we have a metabolic program for people with just smaller health problems. It's also teaching every day. Every program there's teaching every day. We have an app that is pushing you information every single day. We have Q&As online. We have an app where there's measurements, there's graphs, there are automatic calculations of like 35 different parameters. So It's everyday work for me. But what I found out, it's when people first touch the ground, fall at the lowest point, they really touch the ground. That's where they start questioning things, and you cannot promote this process for people. You can only work with people that are already aware. So they already started the process. The only thing you can do, you can inspire with your insights. You can inspire with stories. You can inspire with things. But basically, I stopped selling anything to people because I started. Now, what I'm doing, I don't do direct marketing. People, in order to get to my program, they need to go to from the 3 stages. They have to go through basically in order to get a payment link. They need to go through 3 stages. First, watch a webinar, 1 hour, then write a questionnaire, 30 questions about their health, and then they go for a conversation with me, and only then I give them green light to the intensive program. That's how it works. So,
Yeah.
and now I've been working like this for 15 years. So I'm very, very happy that the program has, it became known and people are recommending it, so I don't need to do marketing. That's really great. So it's kind of, I'm getting client automatically on autopilot because people are referring and saying, okay, that helped me, that helped one of my friends, and that's okay. But for the metabolic program where people did not fall so low yet, so they could touch the ground, touch the bottom, basically.
Yeah, rock
That's a
bottom.
different. That's a Yeah. That's basically a very different situation because they are not fully aware of that they have to take 100% responsibility for their health and for their life. They are not there yet, and that's it. We have to live with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Go ahead,
He has this.
Marcos.
He has this. It's a big screening. It's a big funnel. I mean, watch this, get to this. How interested are you? You're like, I'm not even gonna bother with a phone call with you about the sales pitch or the link until you show me that you're really that bought in. And like you just said, if you
Yeah.
impact one person, I mean, it doesn't maybe do it at scale as quickly, but you're like, that's not really my purpose here. So I appreciate that. I think that's something I'm mulling over right now, Seamus. Dude, I really had this like itch to help people during the holiday season this year. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe this is the right person to help us. Like, he's like, yeah, just make a school group, make it free, right? Hey, the holiday survival group. Like amidst everything else, right? Under the greater umbrella, right? Just join our school group. We're gonna do this. We're gonna help people through the holidays. Quote free of charge, or I don't even know. Maybe call it like a $7 premium. Nothing. I want people to be more bought in, but like again, you do it for free. No one's really bought in. They're like, that didn't cost me anything, right? But
Yeah.
I also want to be like cognizant of like, oh yeah, people are, well, maybe this is just in my own head. Maybe I'm in my own head, Seamus. What do you think?
No, I agree with what Misha's saying and what you're saying. Like people only pay attention and make change when they're committed, not just emotionally, not just physically, socially, but like financially too. I think that's a bit of a leverage and accountability because it's like, for example, like us, we know with personal training, like if the person paid $100 for the session and they don't show up or they're late, they're like, well, that's $100 out. But if you put in an hour with a webinar, did a questionnaire, and had this conversation and didn't take action on it, well, then you're just kind of wasting your time. And if you really understand your return on investment in your time and you're dealing with the pain, Misha's working with people in stage 3, stage 4 cancer, which is insane. And they really went to him for all of this. It's like, look, they're really willing and able to change. And I think some folks can get the free group, right, Marcos? But there's tons of groups out there that like are free, but like, what is their actual success rate, right? What is their actual like, hey, look at what this person's done. Look at what they've done for themselves. And that's where that whole line comes from of like the internet, right? We could always Google everything. We got ChatGPT. Everyone should be a billionaire and have six-pack abs by now. That's like that
But
whole
but guys,
idiosyncratic.
this is a process. This is a very,
Yeah.
very natural. So basically what talks for me and for you as coaches, that's our results, that's the testimonials, that's the video stories, that's the thing. And you very, very slowly you will accumulate this. So basically that's what it is inspiring people very much. And for me, it's not because, basically working with cancer is not something that I really want to do the rest of my life because it's
Yeah.
a very hard work. I would rather inspire people that are not there yet. So basically, they can stop some cancerous processes and they can really keep on being in good health. But that's not how this works. So We need people to be inspired by the stories, by the way we do things. So it's an ongoing work. And I believe very much that we need to find this ignition in ourselves, what drives us every day, what pushes us to go and do things. So it's very, very crucial without using willpower, because willpower is the biggest fallacy of them all. Because, I don't have willpower at all. My procrastinations, no, that's right. My procrastinations are indeed the indications of where I really want to go.
Mm,
The thing is, to understand that, you need to learn listening louder and to your body first,
yeah.
and then to the outside world, And remember the story I started with about the man that had all the questions and all the answers too. So he did not, so listening was not a part of his protocol at all. He was self sufficient. And that's not a good idea if you want. So basically, I hear what you say. But I believe that somehow we need to just connect even deeper to our purpose,
Hmm.
even deeper. So we don't use willpowers. We don't create the, hardship of connection between the teacher and the pupil. But we only do inspirational work. And then I believe very much that your audience will find you. And I believe it you're really, really much,
Yeah.
because it's about being very, very open with yourself. For example, I see myself as a successful coach and health worker, but it's not what I really love.
Mm,
It took me years, before I've been an engineer. It took me also years to understand that engineering in telecom and working with complex systems there was not really something that I really, really, really loved. What I really, really loved was always to play music, to play tennis, and it took me years to basically say it loud to myself, to hear this voice. And then I became a health coach. I was a mental coach, for soccer players. Actually, my son was professional soccer player in Denmark. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he actually played against Manchester United and big teams. So until as 19 years old, he got a groin injury. He was a goalkeeper, yeah,
yeah.
very, very serious groin injury just because, and that's money in sports. You have to
Yeah.
understand that money in sports can kill some, I mean, so to say, can kill some careers. His coach hold him for in play for 5 extra minutes after he got an injury. And
Hmm.
these 5 extra minutes actually made this injury so serious that it ended his career.
Yeah.
That was very stupid. That was very, very stupid of his coach. But that's real story, And I've been teaching doing mental training for him, kind of, and then for the mental trainers in the professional team too. That's the system I made called Dancing Sword, formulating my own resilience protocol. But basically, it's not really, I understand that I really want to inspire people with their, like, connecting with their purpose much, much deeper. And sport is not necessarily the place where I want to make a very big impact. Yes, I have some idea for breathing for tennis. I have a site called breathingfortennis.com. That's my site. I have some breathing protocol for tennis players and things. I want really to work with this. But what I say is, I believe that if we're really burning for something that we're doing, we cannot avoid inspiring people. So we need to find this ignition, this fire inside of us. And sometimes it's a matter of listening to yourself, listening louder, and asking yourself some questions. Sometimes I believe very much, if we reach into this fulcrum, to this point, the inner point where we really want to do this, that's we're unstoppable. I really believe so. I really believe so.
I think this is hitting Marcos really deep right now because I feel like we've had some conversations recently specifically about this fulcrum point, right, Marcos?
Hmm. You can say that. I mean, you mentioning the music and the engineering and all those different components of like what was the core of what got you to where you're at. I look back at so many things that sports got in the way of. My love for music is one of them for sure. I stare at the guitar in my corner over there
do things in parallel. You see those two guitars? You see
Yeah.
there? I'm making a course. I've been playing guitar for 45 years. So I'm basically a professional guitar player. So, and I had small parts of my career where I've been playing professionally, but it's like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Half a year I was touring guitar player, studio musician, 30
Oh,
years ago. And now I do a course now. That's, I'm 60 next year, but I do my first course on a very special solo guitar technique. And it's in the making right now. So, do things in parallel. Do not
yeah.
forget what you really love. Never forget what you really love, because if you do, you forget who you are.
Yeah. And no, you're so right. I mean, I'm making the excuse is like I can get more time. I just got to figure out how to get how to 10x myself so I can get more time back so I can go do more of those things. And I mean, part of it as I look at it was my daughter knocked it over and busted the tuning peg and I need to get it fixed. I'm just being cheap. Beyond that, that's my excuse. Is like once I get that, but I'm looking at it from the perspective like that's probably 30 minutes to an hour that I'm not getting back right now, and that I need to keep I'm almost keeping it broken because I need to stay more focused on the course of like some of the other things that are money makers and passion driven at the same time, right? Like you're saying, like identifying what it is that's seemingly making it all feel right, which keeps the motivation high, and which is the downstream effect of it is leading to positive outcomes. So, like you mentioned, like breath work for tennis players, or mindset for soccer people. And Shane was like, "Your gears are turning." It's like, yeah, like I'm making this little thing happen, once a month with soccer players that are younger. Yet literally yesterday, we had my colleague goes, got to schedule a patient on Wednesday. I was like, motherfucker. She's like, you didn't have anything planned, did you? I was like, I did, because we don't normally see people on Wednesdays. So I was planning on taking the day off. She's like, why didn't you say something earlier? I'm like, well, work comes first. I'll reschedule with the kids. All this to say, like the moments that are starting to matter most, and to put it all together into those things. It's funny how everything that's kind of a good idea for me has like inspired kids first. And so it's like, if I can figure out what's going on with this population, this younger generation, and how to impact them, I'm like, it's the same thing with like the adults. They're just big kids, or at least they think they are. They're just floundering through life. But and so these ideas and these concepts are, it's like you said, how to inspire, right? How do you get people to be inspired versus just following those things is what the kids
be be what we call a renaissance man. A renaissance, what it is, it's the age of revival, rebirth,
yeah.
revitalization. Leonardo da Vinci, remember that. So this guy, he went so many parallel paths in his life. He walked, a path of art, the path of philosophy, the path of physiology, the path of mechanics, anything. So that's basically keep on
Reinventing yourself.
reinventing yourself, maintaining, because remember, all of us, we have different periods in our life, and the period you are through now, it's not going to last forever, believe me. I mean, I have two children. I mean, when I was 30, I wouldn't imagine. I have a 33 years old son that is a medical doctor working in Norway. I have a 28 years old son that is he were a sound engineer. Now um, he's software engineer and playing piano also. So, and I believe both of them feel it. They will have different periods in their life, because I know they care about different things, and it's not for sure it's going to be the same all the time. So, it pay off to feel the joy of doing what you love during the whole life. It doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection is not a word here. It's just, the practice and enjoyment we're talking about. And you never know. And you know what? If you will choose doing what you really what your inside is burning for, it will help all of your endeavors.
I
Believe
agree.
me,
I
it
agree.
will help absolutely.
Yeah.
Energetically, it will inspire you. It will open some doors that you never imagined, were there,
Oh,
So
oh, totally. Yeah, there's feeling called. James, I talked about this. I felt feeling called to do
Literally,
something.
like we had like two phone calls about it this week, or like the last
Yeah.
2 weeks.
I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm like, what? Like sometimes, I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. right? So to be sitting on here, I mean, is foolish, right? I'm so worried about like how things will change. And my wife also gets mad at me. She's like, why can't you just ever stay put? And I was like, because the growth minded individual never does, right? I want to seek out these new things I'm curious about. Not that I've ever truly, I think this is a millennial trait in general. We never want to truly master something because I feel like if we get to quote mastery, then we feel like we'll never grow anymore. And maybe this is why I've never like completed, I have a really hard time completing even video games as a kid. I would get like right to like the end, I'm like, nah, I can't beat it. You know what I mean? Like then it's done. Like then I won't want to go back to it. You know, how many instances have I done
How
this
many
like
chapters have you left open, Marcos? Gosh dang.
too many, dude. I mean, I can.
But it's okay. Look, Marcus. In reality, we're talking here about connecting the dots.
Yeah,
Because if you have many things you are good at, it's not bad at all. You will be
yeah.
just able to connect the dots and find something very, very special. You remember this painting? It was Belgian artist René Magritte. It's called "This Is Not a Pipe." Remember, it depicts a pipe with the
This is
words "This is not a pipe" written beneath it. The statement is literally true. The paint, like it's not a physical pipe, but an image of pipe,
okay.
challenging the viewer to consider the difference between an object representation. I'm like, I'm not a nutrition coach. I'm not a physical movement coach, or I'm not a tennis trainer. I'm not a mental trainer. I'm not a meditation coach, nor a breathing instructor, nor a music teacher, but all of those things are parts of me. And I'm very, very happy because now I'm in a place of my life where I've connected all the dots and I'm about to come closer to my real fulcrum, the one that makes me move forward every single day with a smile, with relaxation, with a light, unforced breathing, and the most important one, without using my willpower. That's again this
Misha, this
fallacy
is
we talked about.
Misha, this is so like on the. Literally, we just had a conversation last week with this gentleman, and it's like everything you're hitting on is exactly there. And I think it's like I think what Marcos is saying too, and I think Marcos and I have the same maybe insecurities or maybe like the same things we worry about, but we're focused on Marcos. What we're talking about is like keeping everything aligned, right? Keeping the finances in check, keeping the kids in line, keep making sure the schedule looks good. But because we're focusing on that, we're just doing busy work. But if you decided to do what you love, the funny thing is all those things that you're worried about, trying to keep the finances in check, trying to keep the schedule in line, your health, it will take care of itself. And the
Yeah,
funny thing is,
exactly,
I
exactly.
know
Yeah.
the thing that you're probably worrying about is like, oh, maybe if I go into a little bit debt, maybe I'm a little bit over leveraged. Here's the funny thing though. And this is what I'm just realizing is like the capacity for us to go low and be like, okay, maybe a little bit over leverage, maybe a little bit debt. But the funny thing is, Marcos, that's fine because it fixes itself out. And then you probably are way better before it after, if that makes sense.
How have I now
But
just? How have you now just opened my mind to Rene Magritte? Is that how you pronounce it?
René Magritte, exactly. Yeah, the Belgian painter.
Oh my god, I love surrealist
And
artists.
and
I love.
now I will actually I'm mentioning him because I will start a series of small reels that about interdependencies, about integrative idea. So they will all start with food, and then they will go into like connecting food with breathing. So how breathing can enhance your gastrointestinal system work, your enzymes, your ferments, your gallbladder, your like stomach HCl and things like that. And then to movement. But it will start with, and it will have the overall idea, as you people, this is not a pipe. It's not food. It's actually something that makes you breathe better, or it's that may be enhanced by breathing, or it makes you more like resilient physically. And then we talk about like white and red muscle fibers, different kinds of exercise, 4 stages of ketogenic adaptation, and I just I'm making a book about ketogenic adaptation, which we're going through defining 4 stages of adaptation and how it works with athletes also, these kind of things. So, yeah, so inspire people with very rare angles,
Hmm.
with different kind of thinking that is yours. And if you allow yourself to do your things, believe me, it's going to be unique angles. It's going to be unique angles. It will take some time to open up, but you will create your own unique angles on things.
We
And
gotta
it will be
work on
much
these.
easier. Yeah.
We gotta work on this. How to inspire people, right, Marcos? Instead of just having to manage people.
Well, it's funny because as we kind of wind this down and go back to what you said in the beginning, Misha, with the story of the individual on your walk yesterday about kind of shifting the conversation into himself. As coaches, it's hard to not want to seem relatable as a result of having anecdote, a personal experience, or other clients. You're trying to interweave that in conversations while letting the conversations breathe. Funny enough, my coworker was like, "It's funny because this person said that you like to talk about yourself a lot." I was like, I don't. I mean, I don't like I do and I don't, right? I'm only talking about myself in the context of this conversation because I'm trying to seem
Yeah.
relatable. Like, I what I want to say is like, dude, like kind of suck it the fuck up and go do some hard work, right? Like you stop analyzing everything, just go do, right? Like it's not going to be a picture
Yeah.
perfect type of approach, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. Exactly. You know,
right?
showing up is a prerequisite for everything. Showing up.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
and so he mentioned that, and it's like it's funny because then he said that he was willing to like do some stuff for you that like seems a little atypical with the normal relationship of like our coaching practices, which is mostly virtual. And I was like, yeah, funny, but like what he's looking for and what I've had to offer is not what he's looking for. But now when I said I'm willing to offer that thing, it changes his tune a little bit, right? He's gonna feel some type of way. Like, oh, you'd actually would do that? Like, yeah, to go show you like you're overthinking the hell out of this situation of like your fitness approach, and we've recently kind of aligned these longevity goals, a list of things that people should do. He's like, how do I incorporate this thing? I was like, this is supposed to be like the product of your good programming, right? Not the thing that you're actually training, right? Two very different things. Like you hanging from a bar for 2 minutes or a minute on, literally just like this
Yeah.
is a
Yeah. Yeah.
consequence of a solid training program in longevity. Not that you need to do that every day, right? It's a byproduct of that thing, right? And that should help you kind of assess whether or not you're doing a good job with your training, right? And he was going on and saying, it's like, well, I train more like a bodybuilder and I want more of like lean tissue because that's what leads to health. And I was like, until it doesn't, right? Until it restricts you, until it doesn't allow you to have the movement and the freedom of movement to take care of yourself, like you're mentioning with you're like, hey, I used to swing 32 kilo kettlebells, right? Now it's 12, right? But you want joint articulation, you want movement and freedom so that you can correct a fall, right? Or what, like you want to be mobile, right? You want that mobility.
Yeah, that's about core. That's about core mobility, basically. The
Yeah.
core mobility is a key here. Yeah, and
Yeah.
with longevity, with longevity, I believe very much the most important factor for longevity that people will not stop doing something. And
Yeah.
that's the most important part because longevity is a long-term work. You see, longevity will not happen this year and then a person will live 30 years with good health. No, absolutely not. Longevity will only happen for the person if he will find a practice that will give him joy.
Yeah.
Truer
Yeah.
words have
If he
never been spoken.
that's the one thing, because the process is a king. The process is a king.
Yeah.
And a slow process, a process without willpower, and that kind of process I used to call effortless mastery because it's self-driven. It's driven from the inside. It's driven by the inspiration, not
Yeah.
by motivation from the outside.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's longevity is a process. It's a day in, day out thing, and it's not outcome driven. It's process, and the
It's a
outcome
process
is what.
driven, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, the
exactly.
outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
man.
have to enjoy it. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're gonna be 85, for fuck's sake, you have to do something that makes sense, right?
yeah. Don't just be doing movements. And
Or
I mean,
90 or whatever, 100, 110. You have to do something. I mean, that makes sense. And you got to be better and better. Now
yeah,
at 60, I'm very happy that I've been practicing guitar for 45 years. I've been practicing piano for 40 years. I can do both things professionally if I want. I do some concerts sometimes. I play tennis 40 years. It's much more effortless. I have no injuries anymore. And I had a lot of injuries. Now that's a sustainable process. And I really want to live until, Woody Allen, Woody Allen. Woody Allen said a very, very nice thing. He said, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him about your plans. So I don't make plans. I just try to learn to live with this very moment and enjoy together
That
with my
makes a lot of
girlfriend.
sense.
That's the thing.
Well, Misha, it's over an hour. Honestly, this is this is the thing about these conversations. In retrospect, this is why we keep loving having them. They're so inspirational. They keep the wheels turning, and they're always so serendipitous because everything that a person comes with, and Max speaks so highly of you as a
Oh yeah.
referral, just hits on the nail. Literally, of probably what Marcos and I have been contemplating and probably need to find a way to enjoy, make it sustainable, and inspire others. And I think we're in that process and we're fine tuning it more
Yeah,
and more.
that's fantastic, guys. That's what we want. Exactly. To enjoy life.
Hell yeah.
Marcos, anything else?
While doing some work.
Yes, yes. Putting it all together, it's and
Yeah.
that's what honestly that like you said, thank you for liking the name of the podcast because it literally came to us like in a moment where it's like, we wanted to talk about bigger things because we wanted it to be like partly self-development because that's what it's for us, but it also has the tie back into nutrition because macro perspective, all this stuff. And it's like, sweet, like it works. It literally turned the name never had to change because the thing that we're doing is related to both of those things. So, our minds getting into that. So we appreciate that like feedback because that really was what we were aiming for. Additionally, that idea, like again, that walk with that person, like you said, you told me today, and me hearing that yesterday told me I need to get back into being a better listener as a coach. I need to listen harder. I need to ask an open-ended question and kind of just let it be versus talking about the directness of it. And I think that's kind of the unique part of Seamus and mine's role is that like we have to hedge the idea of health coaching, like coaching in the typical sense, and also consulting, right? So sometimes it's like, damn, I've been doing too much consultant stuff and I need to be more coach elemented, right? And that was a great
It's
reminder.
different. It's different.
It's so different. It
Absolutely.
really is. And but people
It's
are like,
very
well, what do you
different.
think? And it's like, well, yeah, like you're asking me for opinion based feedback versus like the coaching stuff. So it's interweaving those two is a fine line. And thank you for reminding me that that's the thing. And thank you for
Yeah.
opening my eyes to Magritte because I think you know what? I think I need some fucking paintings behind me. And I would love to get some Dolly paintings and some Magritte paintings. I'm looking at this. Granted, there might be some titties in there, but it's okay. It's okay. But Misha, I do have one question for you
Yeah.
because I've noticed your processing and I'm thinking about this. Do you think in a different language than English?
Basically I'm thinking in Danish, mostly Danish, Russian. Yeah. That's my native language, Russian. And then I lived most of my life in Denmark, so Danish was my also kind of a first. But and then I have been working in English for 20, 25 years, 30 years.
That's
What
so
is,
cool.
It's
what is that
yeah.
process like really quick? Like, because I see it's like almost like you're translating in real time because you're thinking this way and then you have to kind of convert it over. And as two only English speaking individuals, granted, people think I should be, speaking more Spanish. Like, what is that process like? Just like, do you feel like is that part of what keeps you really sharp? Like you said, being 60 years old and having to do that. You have the music interweaved, you have this, you have the coaching, and like I'm just kind of curious because I've kind of noticed that throughout the podcast where I'm like, I can see the wheels are turning, and then you're like, okay, well, then how do I say?
Man,
Because it's like an everyday thing for you, but it's not. It's super unique to me and us because we don't really get a lot of interaction like that because we're not really immersed in multiple language cultures outside of like
I
Spanish.
understand. I understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that was like these wheels were turning pretty fast, I can tell you. I have three other languages that I'm also speaking, but the wheels are turning much, much slower with them, like Spanish, French, and Bulgarian. I live in Bulgaria, so I'm learning Bulgarian. I speak of those six languages, but wheels are turning fast in Danish and Russian, and then English pretty fast, and then the other three languages you would see it, literally how the mechanics are going there, the wheels and everything. So yeah, it works in the pictures, sometimes in words. It's hard to say sometimes in um, for example, some realms, like a realm of health, is easier for me to speak English. Philosophy, maybe too, or maybe Danish would be easier with some philosophical terms. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say, and maybe
Yeah.
in Russian. So there's different preferences,
Yeah.
but basically, it's getting easier with time if you are using. Like I have clients that are coming from different places, and I can tell you that some English I really don't understand, like Irish and Scottish. It will be my second in my second life, maybe, but now I'm like in Russian. We used to say I cannot handle it without a vodka. That's how I feel listening to a person from Australia, from from sometimes,
Oh,
and it's like this. But you
that's cool.
guys with American English, it's easier for me, much easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we don't have the well, we have an accent,
I,
obviously, but not the same type of accent that goes on. But yeah, I was curious because I'm like, I wonder, like, what language he's thinking in right now because I can see it, and then you're trying to think about it, but like in a cool way because it's like you want to say it, and you probably like lost in translation is such a real interesting thing in today's interconnected world. Because I'm like, man, I wonder if he could say it as he wants to say it in his head, but it doesn't necessarily hit the same um, in the translated version because there's multiple words that have again like the Greeks have different words for love, and it's like I love that that's a thing, but then we just use the word
yeah,
love interchangeably amidst these different things. So you know we've had episodes.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for the giving us exactly what we needed for the start for a great weekend. Shane, you want to take us out, bro?
Yeah, Misha, seriously, thank you so much for your time. And again, thank you so much for changing up on us. I really wanted to get you on with Max's referral, but also at the same time, like, I think what you're speaking about, I love that we just covered a broad perspective because I feel like you've been putting out so much content for this, helping so many people out and doing your own thing that people need to come to you to do this deeper work. And it makes a lot of sense. And they need to go through that triage or that filter because it's only going to work that way. I think for the listeners, though, some of the key takeaways I know for us are going to be look, we talk about longevity, we talk about health, but sometimes we apply too much science or paradoxes and it just becomes this thing. And it's like, how can we just find a way to enjoy it, to love it, and to focus on that aspect? And the rest of our life will just seemingly fall into place and we won't have to work on it so hard. But Misha, they could find you at sakharoffhealth.com, right? Sakharoff.com. And your slogan is education instead of education. And you have many courses and things like that. So we'll put all these in the notes and things for them. But Misha, thank you so much for your time. Seriously, we appreciate it. I think this is such a wise conversation. You've been able to string so many things together that Marcos and I, again, have our heads spinning. We're entering a new chapter, most likely, and having to really work on some different things that we enjoy. But yeah, Misha, a macro perspective peeps, we're out. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys. Seamus and Marcus. I enjoyed it very much. Love you guys.